Hey, everybody, and welcome to the Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined podcast. I'm your host this week, Hassan. Joining me this week as part of a special topic, we have the one and only Professor Charles Xavier.
Ah, yes, it's I, Professor Charles Xavier. With the X-Men.
Perfect, thank you. Now, Charles, before we actually get into the main discussion and topic around
Yes.
X-Men, I want to establish, a couple of things here, and I promise this is eventually getting to a point. Now, the first thing I just want to ask you is, what would you say is the one defining trait an X-Men must have, really?
Well, baldness, of course. Head to toe alopecia.
Okay, that we'll say that's optional. Let's say all X-Men have this one trait, right?
Well, it's the one trait they must all possess, truly, is the courage to go into the field and save lives, Hassan.
Okay,
however,
that's a good. You know what? We're gonna say the two. That's a good one.
I gotta say though, the real trait I'm looking for in good X-Men is the ones that steal me some stuff when they're out there too.
Okay, we're gonna put them on the side. So I was actually thinking, the number one trait would be that they are mutants. Correct?
Oh, right. That whole thing. Yes.
Yeah. Great. And to be a mutant, one has to have, and correct me if I'm wrong here, the X gene. Does this all sound correct to you?
Close enough, yes.
Great. Perfect. Mm-hmm. So we've established to be a mutant, to be an X-Men, you should be a mutant, you should have the X gene. Great.
Yes.
Now, second question. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with a person, we'll say, known as Juggernaut, a.k.a. Cain Marko? Does that name sound familiar?
My dear brother, yes, Cain Marko.
Great. So, he's your brother.
He's got the bands of Sidorak.
Great.
The helmets.
This could be my next question. Are you familiar with how he gets his powers?
Well, you see, he's got magic helmet and magical bands of Sidorak.
Great. Perfect.
Yes.
So, I just want to go back over the things that we have established, which is that to be an X-Men, one should be a mutant. One needs to be a mutant, which means having the X gene. Mm-hmm. And that Juggernaut is your brother and does not have the X gene.
Well, not quite, no.
So can you explain to me this picture here, Professor Xavier, of your brother, a man who is not a mutant, joining the X-Men?
Okay.
You want to explain that, Nepo baby here?
Okay. This interview is over. I must go.
Okay, I see how it is. Unwilling to answer to your corrupt ways of using your position to get your brother into the X-Men.
It's not. It was to a vote, you see. A vote!
Oh, I wonder why everybody agreed to vote for Charles Xavier's brother. I'm sure it's not that they're all afraid of telling no to the founder of the X-Men and one of the most influential and powerful mutants in the world.
You think just because I have the power to control minds and manipulate thousands to millions of people at the same time that I, Charles Xavier, Professor X, have changed the minds of all of the X-Men in the world.
No, I think it's worse than that. I think you used your position of power to unknowingly force others to vote for him, because no one's going to be willing to say no to you. No one's going to want to be the person who doesn't vote for your brother and gets on the wrong side of you.
Oh, wait, is it actually better if I had changed their minds using my mind control powers?
That's worse. That's worse. Yes.
Okay. Just making sure, because I could have done that. I could just go ahead and do that again.
Hey, remember when you said people were supposed to be good and willing to sacrifice themselves
and steal me some stuff? Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It's a couple things here. There
are the good guys here.
Mm-hmm. I mean, if you save a bank from Magneto, then you might as well grab me a bit of cash while you're there.
No.
Yes.
No, that's wrong.
Easy
That's a
solution.
crime.
We had to fund the school some way.
Okay, I'm gonna have to report you to the authorities. That's illegal. That's not right.
Well, I mean, we have our own country now, so.
No, yeah, I'm definitely gonna have to report you to the authorities.
Again, we have our own country. I am the authorities. I say it's cool. I say stealing is rad as shit, and keep doing it, everybody. Especially when it lines my buckets. Stealing is great.
Yeah, I shouldn't have put you on.
Is there anything else you want to talk about today?
No, really.
Maybe we want to discuss how we also got the greatest X-Men of all time elected into the X-Men Jubilee.
I'm gonna have to ask you to leave now before I feel more disgust in your actions.
Okay, well, I'll be back in Krakoa, where nothing bad ever happens there. Ever.
Sure.
Ever.
Go enjoy your weird mutant orgies.
Oh, I will. I host them nightly. Nightly, Hassan. They're wonderful.
Yeah.
You ever had Strong Guy fist you?
No, I've not.
All right,
Please
well,
leave.
that's what I'm going to do. Goodbye.
Man, hopefully never have to hear from that guy again.
Hey, Hassan.
Oh, Tristan, thank God you're here.
So, now we have an international crisis on our hands because Charles Xavier shouldn't have been in Canada. The time we were like, so Canada was kind of like backing Krakoa, but like tepidly. Like, they were allowed here, but like because a lot of them had dual citizenship, Professor Xavier did not. So like, the real choice would have been like North Star or Aurora, one of those two. Maybe Wolverine.
Yeah.
Dual
Do you
citizenship.
think Wolverine still has Canadian citizenship?
Oh yeah, he does.
Are we sure?
I mean, it's comics. It can come and go whenever it needs to.
I mean, he's from the 1800s, so it's not like anything's going to still have his, like citizenship records or anything. So unless he's actually bothered, get a Canadian passport or ID or whatever and register an address. At this point, he's just going to show up and it'd be like date of birth and like 1887. And be like, what are you talking? Do you have a passport? No. Okay, well, we don't have your information on file, so please leave.
Yeah, we don't have any records of a guy from 1887 being alive in this day and age, so maybe you should get the fuck out of here, Wolverine. You're not Canadian anymore, dickhead. What? No, come on. Yeah. You could have also gone with I think Marina is also an is a mutant. I can't remember if she is or not. She's from Newfoundland.
Marina?
Yeah.
It's a terrible name.
Well, I mean, Fish Lady,
Yeah, that's a terrible name.
I mean, look, a lot of the fish names were taken, okay? They got like Mara over in like DC Comics.
It might as well be like, I'm Aquarium.
That's probably a better name, honestly, than Marina. But Marina makes sense. I mean, she grew up around a marina, and then you got the fish powers. She can swim real fast, and she's got the heightened senses of a fish, I guess.
What?
She's in Alpha Flight. Yeah.
The heightened sense. All right, we need to get into Tristan. We're here to talk about
New Warrior. She's a founding member of the New Warriors. I'm not lying.
The X-Men are stupid.
No, that's not an X-Men team. That's the best part. That was like a late 80s, early 90s. Like, that's where Nova got big from. And Speedball, Ninth Thrasher, Justice.
Man, and then Marina.
Yeah. Marina's okay. It's just she just doesn't get used at all anymore. So,
maybe. No, it seems fair to me.
Yeah, probably. So yeah, we're here to talk about. We're here to talk about more about the X-Men. I love the X-Men. I love discussing Like the current state of like all the cool stuff they're doing with Krakoa, and the fact that they are. This title card says the fall of the Krakoa experiment.
Look, based on everything I heard in the past episodes about Krakoa, it was not a good place.
No, it was getting there. Look, what country exists for like less than 10 years that is a good place?
I mean, what? Okay, but most countries don't happen to partner up with groups called the Hellfire Club.
Well, okay, to be fair, yeah, good point. They did kind of sink the Hellfire Club when they did the Krakoan thing, just as an FYI. Like, but I mean, all the 50 members of the Hellfire Club were on Krakoa. A lot of international like terrorists and stuff were also on Krakoa because they like, okay, it's all mutants or no mutants kind of thing. You know, it's maybe a misstep here or there. However, a lot of them did reform. It does turn out that basically like a lot of the crime stuff that happened within like mutantdom fell off because when it turns out, hey, you give like mutants who just hadn't had a good home or a good life or like stable jobs or stability at all, a place where they can just live and they don't need to worry about capitalism or any of that shit. You give them that, and it turns out they just go like, oh, I don't need to steal or hurt people. I'm good. I'm off the streets. I'm gonna live here. I'm gonna make a bar. The Blob runs a bar.
I don't want to accept a drink from the Blob.
He's just a big guy. He doesn't have blob powers. The Blob's called the Blob because he's just immovable.
I wouldn't trust his like fingers not to actually accidentally like get in the drink or anything, you know.
So he's actually really dexterous. That's the best thing with the Blob. Yeah.
So he says.
No, this is actually proven in the comics. Seems just like a big fat guy who can absorb all kinetic force and otherwise, and just not get moved. But when it comes down to it, he can just like dance out of the way of things. He's pretty talented. So, but yeah, we're not here to discuss the Blob's ability to dodge out of the way of lasers or whatever, or mixed drinks. I guess we're here to discuss this thing. So, let me kind of start this off with like, I can't remember exactly where I left off with the X-Men stuff, but I do remember for a fact that there was a lot that happened in terms of making the Krakoan thing, which was mostly working out for the time being, fall off entirely. Just so a thing happened where Mr. Sinister, who was part of the Quiet Council, the Council of 12 members plus Krakoa itself, because it's a living island. He was on there and decided he was about to be caught because he was canoodling and doing some weird bad shit, because Mr. Sinister doing bad shit. It's just what he does.
Yeah. How does nobody else in the island go, hey, there's a guy called Mr. Sinister who's part of the Quiet 12 or whatever you're calling it. The Quiet Council, and not go, guys, this sounds like evil stuff.
Well, like the Quiet Council...
The Quiet Council doesn't sound like a good thing. Doesn't sound like good guys.
It's the governing body of Krakoa.
Yeah, that's not a good name for... If you change the Canadian government to the Quiet Council...
Yeah, I agree.
I would have questions. I'd be like, wait, is Canada... Are we the next evil superpower? Because that's what that sounds like.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I fully agree. I would expect anybody who gets elected into government who then changed Parliament's name to the Quiet Council or some other crazy shit like that. Like, the shadow government. Or especially
if one of the 12 people is called Mr. Sinister.
Yeah. then you also have Exodus. Magneto was part of there until he was exiled. All this stuff.
Magneto has been so on again, off again that he's not even gray anymore. He's like multicolored.
Yeah, there's literally a comic about this actually that came out a couple months ago, where it's Magneto. It's just kind of like the first issue is split in the middle of like his old suit when he was like, Magneto, and then like his like the one he wore when he was teaching at that like at the school for Gifted Mutants. Like he did at some point switch over to be a teacher there. It's just like, but yeah, so. And the book is all about like, hey, Magneto's fucking weird because he's not even gray like you said. He's everything. He just switches all the time. I do know that Magneto is currently dead. Like he's gonna come back.
Sure.
I think.
Yeah.
I know
right?
that they resurrected him at some point in some weird way, but they failed or did some weird shit. It doesn't really matter because like his clone Joseph is actually out there still. And he's actually currently in the recent issues of Scarlet Witch. So he's pretty good. I'll put that out there. Joseph was supposed to be like the fall guy for Magneto. Whenever like Magneto proper did anything bad, he'd be like, "Oh, here I am. Yeah, here's Magneto. Go on."
The worst
and
plan.
Joseph's like, Dad." It's a bad plan, but I mean, it's 90s, early 2000s comics, right? But it does mean we get a Magneto stand-in, like hanging out with Wanda Maximoff, like his not like it's Joseph is not technically Magneto, but it's his daughter and all that stuff. It's a fun dynamic. He's also a much more fun, lighthearted character because he doesn't have that baggage of being a terrorist. Who'd have thought? Anyway, Magneto's dead. We have like the Quiet Council. It's split off from like being like 12 members into like 9 or 10 because Sinister did some shit. He basically tried to take over the council because he's getting sick of just being outvoted. Because the thing was like, okay, whatever Sinister votes for, we just vote against it at this point because obviously, like they couldn't get rid of him. They needed to vote him out, but like nobody could vote him out of the council, even though they could have. But they needed that perspective, but they didn't. It was weird. The reason why, like the fact they had Sinister on the council for so long is stupid, but it makes for a good point where there's an issue of the Immortal X-Men where he gets sick of their shit and then basically does a bunch of time travel murder to try and like kill everybody at the same time. And then just before they kill him, he like travels himself into a different clone and then travels back into time and then goes like, no, that one didn't work. What if we try robots this time? Poison? Oh, poison. Oh, that time I only got 6 of them. Okay. I need to get at least these 2 as well. It's a really good issue. And like, there's a point where like, where I can't remember if it's Hope or Professor Xavier, who's just like, hey, wait a second, he's time travel murdering us. Just like call it out, and so it's like, no, I didn't. No,
how would they know that though? Because if he time travels murder, shouldn't they forget that the person existed?
They read his mind. He only time travel like back to the point where like he thought about doing the murder. So like at one point they read his mind because he like comes back, he like pops back into his seat, and I'm like, oh, that's weird. Hold on a second. You're thinking of murdering us. You've murdered us before.
Yeah, he's named Mr. Sinister. What did you expect, you idiot?
Yeah, I gotta say,
you spent decades fighting him.
The real reason why they kept Mr. Sinister on, not the council itself, but like the reason why he stayed on for so long is because Mr. Sinister is so entertaining. Like he's the best part of those X-Men books until he like switched sides to Orcus, and now he's like a proper bad guy who hates mutants and all this shit. And it's just like, nah, he sucks now. He was a lot more fun when he was just doing dumb shit, like dumb supervillain crap. Like he maintained that supervillain status, whereas everybody else was like, you know what, I'm part of this council, or I live in Krakoa now. It's nice. I don't want to fuck this up. There's that sentiment, but he's just like, I gotta fucking kill this place. Like, oh, I hate it. And like he was a lot of fun. So that happened, and he eventually did kill most of the council. But then he's like, okay, if I can't fucking kill them violently, physically, I will kill them through optics. Bad optics. So he kills most of them, except for like Storm, Hope, and then I think it was...
You put Hope on the council?
Yeah, well, she's the leader of the five, the people that are in charge of resurrection, and they had no representation, and like they had a lot of complaints, right. And it just kind of made sense. Like,
sure, I guess. Yeah. Just Hope, really?
No, to be fair, she's also like the mutant messiah from the future. So
yeah, I know. It's just I wouldn't call her the most mature and responsible of mutants.
She's got like Cable status. I mean, she's technically a Cable character. So like she's been like time traveled all over the place. She's older than she looks, but she's still only really like 25. Younger, actually. I think she's only like 22.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing. Hope is a weird one. I like her in general, but like, yeah, I agree. But I mean, like, the other ones weren't also jumping to like chomping at the bit to get on the council. And they're like, "Why don't you do it? You're our leader." And she's like,
"Real life politics. I got you."
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so Mr. Sinister like basically kills everybody but 3 people, and then in the resurrection process, fucks with them, and like turns them into like weird versions of themselves, and what happens is you have now like instead of like the immortal X-Men books, you have the immoral X-Men kind of imprint come in, do 3 issues of that, where it's now like the council who just are like, let's do terrorism again. All in favor say aye, and they all say yes. Because they'll have the Mr. Sinister seed in their brain.
Who could have foreseen this would happen?
Right? Oh,
the Quiet Council.
Nobody could have seen this happen. Especially not the precog that's on the council. Destiny's on the council. She has precognitive powers. She technically only sees fate and fortune kind of shit. But like she can predict the future within like a good like 90% accuracy. And somehow, like, she sees this coming. She does straight up say, like, hey, this is going to happen, and I'll probably be, like, the first one to go. And she's like, I can't help it. I mean, like, even Mystique is going to be, like, axed, and she's my wife and all that stuff. And, and Mystique's like, what? Wait, what? No. Anyway. Yeah, they all get brutalized, murdered, brought back to life. Had the Mr. Sinister seed in their brain. They literally then get all the like the diamond in his head on their own heads, and they go off and just start fucking shit up. That's as much as I'm gonna say about that stuff. I didn't read a whole lot of it. I know that he did the same thing to Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler wasn't the council, but he quit because like reasons. And then he just went off and he became Spider-Man. He's currently a version of Spider-Man. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I know.
No.
It just it kind of look. It's fun to have Kurt Wagner as Spider-Man.
No,
but he's
not a spider.
Yeah, he filled okay. So he filled in for Spider-Man at some point back in the 90s, just because they have kind of the same build, except for the the hands,
and the tail.
The tail, but the tail you can hide. You can wrap it around your body. But now he's kind of like has his own Spider-Man based book as
no, that's stupid. That's stupid.
I haven't read it yet, but
can't believe that they would spoil the great Spider-Man writing they're doing with Jackpot by doing this.
Oh, the current Spider-Man books I think are some of the worst comics I've read. Anyway,
you and everyone.
Yeah. They're Krakoan stuff, though. Interesting shit now. So, we have another Hellfire Gala. After that, they're kind of rebuilding trust. Another Hellfire Gala to be like, okay, every year we elect a new X-Men team, and every year we throw this gala to show like, hey, we're cool. Everybody can be invited. If you want to come, you can come. It's not a big deal. Literally anybody can get here. We open the gates to everybody at this point. You're good. And it's cool then. Like, you know, you want to like go and have a fun night with a bunch of mutants. There you go. Now, just before this happens, in an issue of speaking of Spider-Man, in an issue of Spider-Man, Miss Marvel died.
Eh.
Right?
That's all I got for you.
She's got a bad history now because like she had like went from being like the most popular new character to now just being like passed around like she doesn't matter. Now it's a bit better because I mean we'll get there in a second, but so she was a backup character in Amazing Spider-Man for a while, and then during one of the Carnage event things, like she got murked, just straight died, and I mean, I mean like it's whatever. She died. It sucks. And then she was resurrected in Krakoa because, as it turns out, Miss Marvel is not just an Inhuman, but also a mutant.
That is stupid.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. I mean, okay. It makes some semblance of it makes some sense. It makes some semblance of sense. But I don't know. Like I would really wish rather they didn't do that. I think a lot of people would rather that, but whatever.
It just to me, it's just hey, we always need to bring characters back from the dead. How do we do it? Oh, well, in the X-Men series right now, we got a way to do that.
Well, there's the thing.
She's an X-Men.
Well, there's the thing though, because like they didn't have to make her a mutant. They could have just brought her back from the dead because the X-Men opened up the whole resurrection thing to the public. So it you know
that's a bad idea.
Yeah, it wasn't working out well for them. They had a lot of people applying for it.
Yeah,
because
go figure.
Because you know, just before they did this, a massive like so in the Avengers X-Men Eternals crossover thing, is just real bad. Because a third of it is Eternals. So, in that crossover thingy, they had to battle against a giant Eternal who is going to destroy the world, and then this Eternal effectively kills like 90% of the population on Earth, or something around those lines. And like,
is this just them rewriting the MCU movies?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he essentially did a Thanos snap, but like the idea was he went individually, psychically to people and judged them based on their choices. Whatever. Anyway, a lot of people died during that. Like a lot of them, a ton of them. A lot of them get resurrected in like immediately because magic, but then like a large portion just didn't. So they got backlogged, and it's like, well, we want to see our families again. We would like it if the mutants maybe helped us with that. And they went like, yeah, you're right, we will. Cool. So we'll open up Resurrection. They give me that many. Oh God, hundreds of thousands.
Well, it'd be billions, right?
And then also people were like, yeah, my wife died of cancer. I would like to see her again too. Stuff like that. It's just like, okay, but mutants still take priority because.
Wow, I see how it is now.
Especially ones on missions and that kind of stuff because we need them for reasons. And it's just like, okay. Anyway, Miss Marvel gets resurrected. And he's like, you're a mutant! Miss Marvel, Kamala, good congratulations. And she's like, shit, I'm not sure which part of me is a mutant and which part of me is inhuman now. And it's like, that's crazy. Once again, no real reason why this makes any sort of sense is because, like, it's fun to have a character named Marvel on the X-Men because that's kind of a tradition they've had. Specifically, Jean Grey used to go as Marvel Girl. So I think that's why they did it, personally. But
No idea.
no idea. Also, they could have, I don't know. Maybe just don't kill off a character in a fucking, like, as a secondary character in a book when she has her own thing happen. I don't know. Bad ideas. The Spider-Man shit is just driving me bonkers, man. Anyway, Hellfire Gala, where they decided to elect the greatest X-Men team of all time. You wanna pull it up again, or do you want me to grab it?
I can grab it if you don't have it.
I can grab it in a second here. So it basically,
I do have it here. So it's starting with the real, high notes: Cannonball, Sync, Frenzy, Prodigy, and then getting into some actual real names with Dazzler, Talon, Jubilee, and somehow Juggernaut, who is not a mutant.
Yep. Yeah, so you have Sync and Talon, who have been there. They're OG, like current X-Men, so that makes sense. Frenzy's cool. I like Frenzy. She's basically a big berserker barbarian. Cannonball is. I like Cannonball, but I like the New Mutants, so I like Cannonball because he's fun. Like his whole thing is that he can launch himself kinetically. But he has to kind of like believe in his powers and shit. Yeah, he's cool. I like Cannonball. He's also very southern, and that's kind of fun. Prodigy is Prodigy, and he just makes sense for any team because you need a real smart guy. You need a real smart
fire
guy.
starter, if you will.
Yeah, sure. A twist of fire starting.
Yeah.
Dazzler, I'm just like, what like.
I've never cared about Dazzler, I'll be honest.
I don't either. I like her enough, but I'm like...
Yeah, I don't hate
sure.
her. I'm just like, she's a whatever character to me.
I agree. And then you have Jubilee. I just vehemently don't care. I have no hatred towards Jubilee. Unlike you.
I dislike Jubilee, and a large part of that is because 9 out of 10 times I think she's lame, but that 1 out of 10 times... I really like her, and so I just wish they would stick with that 1 out of 10 times instead of just making her aggressively annoying and lame.
Yeah, I actually agree with that. Like, she's not super lame. Well, okay, no, I shouldn't say that. They did write a recent thing. I think it was Leah Williams that wrote this thing. It was Jubilee, Dazzler, Boom Boom. No, not Dazzler. Sorry, Jubilee, Boom Boom. I think it was Dazzler actually, and not Talon, but X-23, like Wolverine, like Talon. There's Talon, who is also Laura Kinney, and there's also Wolverine, X-23, who's Laura Kinney, and like it's because like Talon was stuck in a place where like time kind of sped up, and she lived like 500 years in this bunker, like fighting for her life, whereas they thought she was dead because like nobody can survive that because there's a bunch of like crazed mutant killers there, and they're like really good at killing mutants. Like they sent like a team of like 10 in there and they all died except for like her and Sync. That's why Talon and Sync are like, up here like this. But yeah, Jubilee, she's whatever.
She was cool when she was a vampire.
Yes, I like that too. Yeah, she's gotten better play recently, but the more recent stuff that she's been in has been not for me.
Razzle dazzle.
Razzle dazzle. And the Juggernaut. So, like I said, not actually mutant. All this stuff. I fully 100% agree. Magic dude, magic helmet, magic armor, that kind of stuff. That's a shtick. He is kind of an honorary mutant, though. So the way this kind of works with the Krakoan stuff is that, like, if you are a mutant and you have, a wife or a spouse or like a kid or, a brother or sister or somebody else in your family who is not a mutant, but they actually, but they're cool, they can come and hang out on Krakoa and essentially be honorary mutants. Like, North Star's husband is an honorary mutant in that sense. Not actually a mutant, obviously, but like has citizenship because he's married to a mutant. Therefore, you know.
Yeah, but you still can't say the M word.
Mutant?
Oh, you can only say that if you're one of them, Tristan. Everyone knows how it works.
Good thing I am, Hassan.
Oh, okay.
My mutant power is to explode, but only once, and I die, so I'm not going to do it.
There's been lamer mutant powers than that.
It's a very bad explosion. It's very wet.
There's still been lamer powers than that.
I guess so. Anyway, yeah, so that's the team they come up with. Now here's my favorite thing. So immediately after this team is introduced, now Orcus, I mentioned them before. They hate mutants. They're a big racist group. All this lovely stuff. Yeah, they're real hell bent on killing the X-Men and taking down the Krakoa experiment and this kind of thing, removing Krakoa from existence. Because like they took Mars, what are they going to take next? You know, that kind of shit. Far right extremists, basically. And then they do this, which that's a picture of Nimrod flying into the Hellfire Gala, killing the majority of those X-Men that were just elected, except for Sync and Talon. Yeah, so he kills everybody. Oh, also except for Juggernaut, because Juggernaut is Juggernaut, and he's damn hard to kill. Yeah. I think he does eventually kill Juggernaut, but Juggernaut like really fucks him up.
He's not a mutant. Nimrod shouldn't kill him.
Yeah, he mentions that actually. So it's like, hey, I thought you weren't a mutant. What are you doing here? Anyway, yeah. So Nimrod kills like everybody else. So Dazzler, Prodigy, Frenzy, Jubilee, Cannonball, all these characters just flies in and rips them in half, and he's like, "Fuck you, I'm here and fuck you guys up." So that's a good time. That's a fun time for mutantdom. So he does that, and then basically it's up to everybody else to then stop the invading forces of Orcus / the humanity that they've gathered from taking them all down. And yeah, shit goes wild, and they need to essentially evacuate all of the humans that are there, and they start doing that. Iceman takes on Nimrod. It's a whole thing. It's a really good fight, but Nimrod like puts basically like a neutron explosion inside of his chest and essentially gives him like ice cancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, he starts like...
Sorry, Sean Ashton.
Yeah, he starts melting from the inside. Which, I mean, like, Iceman is... I'll put this out there. Iceman has his own current book that happened after this stuff.
People that into Iceman?
Yeah. He's good.
Okay, all right.
Iceman is consistently one of the cool... no pun intended. But one of the coolest mutants that they have right now. Not like on the X-Men, but he's on whatever various...
All right.
Well, actually, no, he was in the X-Men for a little bit.
He's never struck me as like an exciting X-Man to read and see.
Yeah, well, he is. It's more so okay. It's more so because Iceman is gay, and therefore Marvel's gonna push a lot of agenda shit because they do. Which, hey, that means more readership for anybody who wants to read a gay superhero. Cool. But I know they kind of just did this for money. And, like, the team that's writing that Iceman book, they're kind of like, what are we doing here? Because he died. Like, there's a shot of him fucking melting to death. Like, his skull drops. Again,
Krakoa resurrection.
Well, no, it doesn't. That's not a thing right now because, like, after this happens... yeah, so Orcus wins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Orcus does the thing that they wanted to do, and they scatter the X-Men to like the four corners of the world, and then also for good measure kill about like a few 100,000 of them. So what they do is they reprogram, and they've said in current issues that this is not actually the case, but I think it's kind of a weird backpedal. But what they've done is they had Krakoa, the gates, reprogrammed through magic or whatever, or science, and they forced Charles Xavier to mind control everybody to walk them through the gate because he thought they were all going to go to Araco, Mars, to live. And he's like, okay, that sucks, but we can compromise there. That we'll work on it. And then Nimrod's like, or not Nimrod, it's Moira, who is now mutant but also serving Orcus. Moira's just like, ha, idiot. That was actually true of like almost a literal like blender. Like,
oh,
you just murdered 100,000 people, bro. Congratulations.
All right, well, that's the X-Men done forever, so why don't you tell people where to find us?
So a lot of them actually got into that. And there's some kind of like real comic-y bullshit here.
Shocking.
Yeah, shocking. Just quickly back on Iceman. I'm pretty sure the reason why he survives this thing that Nimrod does to him is because he is like literally probably the strongest mutant of all time. Like they give that to like Professor Xavier and like Storm and shit, but like Bobby's done some shit that like he's an Omega level mutant to this point. Like it's just he is. He just straight up is.
It's just so silly.
It is very silly, but like the stuff he's done, he's made like hundreds of clones of himself and fought an entire army to a standstill. He controlled them all perfectly. He made himself giant and then fought like a Godzilla. Like this is the shit that he does. So there's a good reason why he could survive this stuff. Just putting that out there. Anyway, yeah, so Gene like fastball specials Juggernaut into Nimrod and he fights him. I can't remember if Nimrod kills him or not. It's a bit of a... There's a lot happening in the Hellfire Gala issue.
Sure.
Including Kingpin and... Kingpin's there. Kingpin and Typhoid Mary are married. And Typhoid Mary is a mutant. So he has citizenry on Krakoa. And once they...
Hey, but why would you... What? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. All right. As a society, right? If I say married Charles Manson, the Canadian government isn't going to be like, "Come on up, Charles Manson. That's cool. Yeah, we'll welcome you in."
Well, they did to Kingpin. Again, well, no. To be fair,
criminal.
Yeah. Like a lot of the other mutants on Krakoa, like you keep pointing out.
Yeah, it's almost like they should maybe not just look the other way to criminals.
Well, they don't, because like once you then, if you commit another crime, if you re-offend, then basically they do like throw you in a pit. Like they do put you in jail. It's really shitty. It's a real bad, like they put you in a black hole kind of jail. So yeah. But yeah, they do that. The thing is, like, Krakoa's whole thing is like second chances. So that's why, like, when Kingpin and Typhoid Mary...
Kingpin has had like 89 chances, and he still keeps committing crimes and murder.
Yeah. So here's the other thing. In the issues of Daredevil where he married Typhoid Mary and then fought Daredevil, and like he kind of fakes his own death. And Daredevil's like, "Get the fuck out of New York. I don't ever want to see you again." And he's like, "You know what? I'm going to retire." Good point. And he does.
No, he's not. He's going to come back and commit crimes.
Yeah. So here's the thing. Here's
Rocking.
Here's what's happening currently. Just passing by the Hellfire Gala shit. So currently, the Hellfire Club, has been reconvened. And its leader is Wilson Fisk. Now, to be fair, this is actually a whole, like, the reason why this is happening is for actually really cool reasons, and we'll get there in a second.
Oh, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just saying the mutants are bloody idiots. Who could have foreseen this?
Yeah, I know.
Man who spends decades being evil villain swears this time for realsies he's going to be a good guy.
This one's going to be okay. Also, by the way, Hassan, your favorite mutant, strong guy, gets some good play here.
Yes.
He gets a fastball special Kitty Pryde.
Perfect.
Through a
yes.
sentinel. So yeah, she's like she's like, been a while. He's like, fuck yeah, let's go. It's awesome. It's a good 3 panels.
Strong guy should just always have a smaller mutant on his shoulder.
Yeah, he often does.
Yes.
Yeah, he throws Kitty Pryde through one of the Iron Man Sentinels and just rips that in half because phasing powers, disruption, etc. Yeah, it's this. I gotta say, the fights in this issue for the Hellfire Gala stuff really good. It beats the shit out of the previous Hellfire Gala from last year. What a crap load of crap that was. Anyway, yeah. So at this point, so one of the X-Men, Firestar, which one of the reasons why we also had Iceman on the X-Men team for 2022 was because they wanted Firestar on there as well, who was a mutant but never really on the X-Men. She's a pretty prominent character. She's been an Avenger, a New Warrior, Defender, all this stuff. Never an X-Man, but she's a mutant.
Okay, but what if instead they had put Firestar on the team with Prodigy?
Well, that would have sucked. Again, Prodigy's good. Everybody
yeah,
should
but
use
then you
Prodigy.
have Prodigy and Firestar.
Yeah, I get you. Yeah, okay, I get you. That would be smart. But the smarter thing was, so they had Iceman and Firestar on the previous team, and there's a reason for that. It's because that is 2/3 of the old TV show Spidey and His Amazing Friends. So that old TV show.
I don't know that anyone really cares about that.
I kind of care. I think it's funny.
You and 12 other people.
Yeah, pretty much. But
I mean, it's a good joke, but
it's good. Yeah, but that's the reason why.
Okay, but so all the X-Men put into a blender. Krakoa taken over. What happens?
Jean Grey tells, basically, voluntells Firestar, "Hey, I'm about to die. I'm going to reconvene my body with the Phoenix Force at some point because that's just how that's going to work for me. Sorry, I'm coming back as that. But here's what you're going to do. You are going to join Orcus. I've just implanted a memory into Mr. Sinister's head that you are his inside man. This has worked. We're good. But I'm sorry, I can't get this message out to everybody else right now because I'm trying to hold my body together to give you this message. So, good fucking luck. You're our inside man, inside woman. So people are gonna try and kill you. So just try and survive. I'm sorry. It's really unfortunate for her.
All right.
Yeah, Moira McTaggart does a bunch of other stuff too. She Cyclops is taken away by Mr. Sinister. Yeah, the whole mind control thing is also interesting because okay, here's the weird bullshit thing about this issue. So, of course, Professor X, being who he is, has 100% helped X-Men that he's trained resist mind control, and he has there's a Xavier not policy. What's the word for it? A program, a brain programming, basically, that he has put into everybody's heads. That if they are good enough, they can access that and instantly resist any mind control. And it's the resist protocol.
Sure, that's how brains work.
Sure, yeah, right. So here's the thing. So he blends everybody by accident in that sense, and that sucks for him. And then once he realizes what he's done, and Moira's like, "Fucker, haha, you kill everybody." A lot of the other mutants are just now they're then spotted saying "resist" and this weird text and all this stuff. And then he realizes oh, there's a little bit of hope here because hey, they are the protocol is fired off. So you get these great shots of Wolverine just yelling "resist" and murdering 100 dudes. It's yeah. Again, good shit in this comic. Great action. And then, like, yeah, there's a lot of insane stuff that happens around this area. Anyway, all fails. Rogue tries to fly Professor X out of there, and he's like, no, take me back. I have to kind of, like, pay for my crimes. So I need to be... Just give me to Orcus. They want me. This way there's leverage. It's fine. So she does. And then she reconvenes with all the other mutants that got off of Krakoa and are currently resisting. Because now, the whole thing with X-Men is that if you're a mutant, you are an X-Man. It's war, baby.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well.
So that's where we're at.
So, sorry, is that like us basically caught up to current?
For the most part. There's some other stuff as well. So, like, for instance... So, the Resistance faction is, like, there's not a lot of mutants in the Resistance faction, because there were a bunch of them that were teleported to Mars, and they unfortunately have to now join the civil war that's happening on Mars. Yeah.
What? Sorry, why is there a civil war on Mars?
Basically, what happened was the Iraqi, sorry, is what they're called, who are the mutants from, like, Apocalypse's kind of, like, dimension craziness. They tried to invade Earth, but they made a deal, and they all live on Mars. Works out for them. They've all kind of, like, realized that the Quiet Council has lost total control, and once they realize, they're like, oh shit, we're all on our own. The only thing that was beholden to us was, like, the fact we can kind of go back and forth, and, if we started a civil war, the X-Men would show up and try and stop us. All right, cool. We love fighting.
When you say civil war, like, between the mutants on Mars?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. The Iraqi are basically a mashed up, like, a very unstable colony of two sets of mutants that actually hate each other and have been at war for, like, thousands of years.
Yeah, it's just called the mutants. I got you.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so they go like, oh, nobody can stop us now? Time to fucking go. I'm going to shoot that guy. He's going to shoot me. It's going to be great. Anyway.
Sure.
So that's happening on Mars. So Storm is now locked in at Mars because the other thing that what happened was so Orcus hacked the gates and turned it off for all mutants. Hilariously, these gates, they used to not allow Kate Pryde in, but now she's the only one that can access the gates in, like, as a mutant. So whatever happened was, like, this fun little twist. So current writing basically has, like, Kate Pryde, Shadowcat, reapplying the name Shadowcat to herself, and now she's doing fucking ninja shit. Because bet you didn't know that Kate Pryde was a trained ninja assassin.
Mutants in comics are stupid.
Comics are stupid, yes. But, like, in the 80s, she got this training to be a ninja assassin.
Of course, it was the 80s,
and they made her a
ninja. Ugh.
Yeah. I mean, it's the 80s, man. What else are you going to do besides be a ninja? Or some sort of, like, gun-toting maniac. Like, we thought the 90s were bad for that, but, 90s were the extreme shit, but, like, 80s were the dark era where, like, ninjas and shit, like, the cool action stuff was just really, really happening, but, gotta be dark and edgy. Anyway, yeah, she's a ninja now, again, and it's a lot of fun where she's just, like, basically walking through these portals, phasing through stuff, and just hacking guys apart, going through. It's good ninja stuff, gotta say. Anyway, I mentioned the Wilson's Fist thing because, like, so he's now running the Hellfire Gala as basically a psyop / cover-up to give the Resistance group an actual place to fight from. So in New York, he has kind of, like, reignited crime via the Hellfire Club, and has a few other people join it as non-mutants. It's not a mutant club anymore. And he's like an underground secret bunker kind of thing. Like, yes, let's do some crimes, everybody. Oh God, I hope the mutants win their fight. Yes, crimes. Yeah, he's weirdly, he is actually pretty well reformed in these books lately. It's been said for Wilson Fisk, like, he just wants to stop. But I mean, like, a whole bunch of people just died, and like his wife got taken somewhere, he's not sure where. She didn't die. Typhoid Mary is now in, like, I think she's in, like, the Captain Britain, like, Excalibur world shit with, like, it's like the other New Mutants. It's a whole, it's called, like, New Reign or whatever. And I'm like, I don't know about this. I read the first issue. It's kind of, but it's got, like, Danny Moonstar and magic, and I like that. And Marrow's there. I like Marrow. But I don't know. But yeah, while that was all happening, there's also another resistance group, the Dark X-Men show up. But, like, these are not, like, we're against the X-Men. It's, like, Madeline Pryor, who is the current leader of Limbo, hanging out with Alex Summers, and then, like, Gambit and Maggot is there. Like, they're using Maggot. I'm like, ooh, Maggot. Yeah. Nobody uses Maggot.
No,
that guy's
gross.
Great. He is very gross, but he's very useful. All this stuff, like, yeah. So they also have a cybernetic Wolverine. It's a pretty fun team. And they're basically just like.
What do you mean cyber? How do you make him cybernetic? Has he
sorry,
lost his healing abilities?
No, sorry, it's an android Wolverine. I should say.
Like, okay, so he's lost his healing abilities.
No, it's an android that looks like Wolverine.
Oh,
yeah,
gotcha.
Yeah, I shouldn't say cybernetic. Sorry, that does imply that Wolverine still has.
Why would you make an android that's like Wolverine?
I can't remember why. He's from, like, the 90s, man. I couldn't tell you.
Because, like, realistically, like, an android,
yeah.
you could give it guns or just an entire sword arm instead of just these stubby little claws that come out. Because on an android, that's not really a good power.
Not really. He is made of adamantium, so.
Sure, but just make a blade on his entire arm. That's way better.
Yeah,
or just give him a sword.
The worst thing is he's actually, like, half destroyed as well. So he is very clearly a robot.
Adamantium. Whatever.
It's like this, mostly like the skin stuff is sloughed off.
Sure,
like,
that's fair.
Like, this part's, like, definitely totally Wolverine, but this other side's just like, yeah, that's a robot right there. Yeah. It's a cool look, but it's, yeah, definitely Dark X-Men shit. Yeah, I like this team. It's fun. But the main thing is, like, the X-Men are just out there literally, like, being resistance fighters and pulling this crazy shit. I like it a lot. I was actually kind of, like, ho-humming the whole X-Men Krakoan thing for a while, because as much as I still like the X-Men, it was getting pretty stale, and they weren't really doing anything interesting with Krakoa anyway. And I kind of wanted to see more about, like, how to turn this into a proper society, because, like, you and I both know what they did with it starting up couldn't last anyway, even if this didn't happen. Like, yeah, like, obviously they were going to go to war with themselves at some point, or something like that, and that basically is what happened. But Orcus got there first before they could even start killing each other, and it's just like, this is now going in a direction where I can really get behind this, because now they've done something more interesting to build off of this, even if it does mean getting rid of the Krakoa stuff, which like I said, I like the Krakoa stuff. I think this is a better direction, though, because even if they go back to Krakoa eventually, like, having them set up as, like, we need to take down Orcus, and, like, we're all resistance fighters now, and if you're a mutant, you're an X-Man kind of thing, it plays really well. Like, the current issues of X-Men and stuff are, like, yeah, they're hitting those numbers. It's good.
So I have two questions off of this. My first one would be, how much do you think that a lot of what they are changing in terms of the state of sort of the world in the X-Men is perhaps them trying to not necessarily like align it to or prepare, but at least kind of shift it a little bit more towards whatever they're going to try and do with the mutants and the MCU. Because a lot of what you're saying sure does feel like it's them going, okay, we can't just like reboot it, but let's like vaguely kind of reset the status on this of like, okay, we've murdered off a ton of mutants, so there's just way less mutants now, and they're kind of rarer. And now you know, they're again kind of this underground society kind of thing. A lot of it just sounds like they're doing work to basically be able to go like, oh, you liked the movie? Hey, this thing is different, but it's close enough.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much they're trying to reset it into MCU status, because, to be fair, you're right. Like, if they had done a... once they introduced the X-Men into the MCU, if they were doing the Krakoan stuff during that, and they're giving you the basic standard, like, here are the X-Men, they fight Magneto, they fight the Brotherhood of Mutants, blah, 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 that stuff, and then you read an X-Men comic and go like, what the fuck is happening? Because...
They have their own society on a sentient island, and they're accepted by the world. What?
Their own language and shit. Like, it's crazy. Like, in comparison from when it was, like, if you watch an episode of, like, the 90s X-Men cartoon, and then read an issue of, like, the Krakoan X-Men stuff, it's like, it's day and night as to what's happening.
Yeah, which are
totally different.
Either rebooting or continuing that 90s cartoon, so...
They are continuing it, yeah.
Yeah, so like again, a lot of what it sounds like is happening in the comics, just it does feel like it's them trying to align a little bit more to other media that they are doing.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's kind of the case. I think this is where the reboot's going to happen. If I had to say anywhere, it would make a lot of sense to be like, okay, we tried the Krakoan thing. Sorry, guys, like this failed. I'm going to go back to robbing banks or whatever, or being a terrorist.
Right, yeah.
Like, that kind of shit. I can see that being the case, like, bringing it back to basics. Especially because I think the Krakoan stuff was starting to wear thin. Like, it was wearing thin for me, because every issue was kind of like, okay, what are you going to do now? Like, there's no more, like, bad mutants to fight. What are you fighting now? Space aliens again? Okay, once again with the space aliens. Okay. It's just, there was that kind of stuff. Like, the problems they started messing with were like a little more weird. Like the X-Men quickly became kind of a strange Doom Patrol in a way.
Okay, all right.
Which is like mean like they would fight strange stuff, not so much like, oh, this guy's trying to steal this nuclear device or whatever. It's like, no, this guy went to sleep and then because of his powers he caused everybody to turn into rhinoceroses. And then we gotta stop that from happening. It's that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So, which I'm fine with. I like Weird X-Men, but it started to feel less like the X-Men and more like a Fantastic Four comic. You know, it reminds me of Harry. I'm not a big Fantastic Four guy. I think they're fine. Like, nothing wrong with them, but, you know, whatever.
Ben Grimm's good.
Yeah.
Drop the other three.
Yeah, I actually almost agree with that. I'll take Invisible Girl. You know, it's cool.
But I do have question number 2.
Question 2.
And boy, am I worried saying this is going to somehow make it happen.
Might.
How long before they announce that Jackpot is a mutant? Think about it. Oh, they love Spider-Man getting involved with X-Men. How do we do that here? What if Jackpot becomes an X-Men?
Hold on, let me just refamiliarize myself with Jackpot here.
Mary Jane.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
AKA Jackpot.
Yeah, okay, that's right. Yeah. I would assume not. Okay, so
wow.
here's the thing.
You have some faith in the current Spider-Man writing, huh?
No, I don't. But I assume that they just realize that Jackpot's a dumb fucking idea and don't go with it. Just because
they seem all in on it.
Do they? Okay, well.
From what I'm just going off from what I've been reading of other discussions, but They sure do seem keen on going through with this.
So to be fair, I am not so privy with the like Peter Parker Spider-Man stuff that's happening. Just because like I just think whatever's happening over there is just some incredible horse shit.
Oh yeah, no one seems to like it.
It's bad. Every time I pick up an issue, just like flip through, I'm like, oh really? You do it? No, oh no. And then they have like 20 other books related to the Peter Parker stuff, and it's like different versions of Spider-Man comics, and then it's like other Spider-Man characters have their books, and it's like, do you want to be Sony that badly? Really? Okay, let's go. Like with the X-Men, it makes sense because you have like a ton of characters you make teams out of. You can do a whole team of like just strong guy like dudes. I read that actually. It sounds pretty good. But like you could like that's the thing with the X-Men. You can always just do different weird teams. With Spider-Man, you have a bunch of different
Jackpot.
teams. Like Jackpot. Look, maybe they say, okay, Mary Jane is a mutant, and therefore she comes back as Jackpot, and it's all good. That could happen. I can see it happening, but I mean, that also would. So the Resurrection Protocol stuff is off the table. Like we're done resurrecting people now. Like that's not going to happen. If any mutant dies in the coming issues, that's it.
Well, for now.
For now, until they eventually do bring them back through whatever means they can. But like the way they have it set up right now with the 5 resurrecting people. That's gone. Like, half of those people died. So, like, yeah.
Oh, no, not Jubilee.
Oh, Jubilee wasn't part of the 5. I'm talking, like, Tempest and Goldball.
Yeah, but Jubilee's dead, right? So
she's dead. She's very dead, yes. Yeah, Nimrod, like, stomped her ass. Although, she was the only one of those, that crew that got blown up by Nimrod. Besides Juggernaut, that got to say something to Nimrod. And she was like, fuck you, robot.
All right. No, those are my questions. We should probably start wrapping up. So any last things you want to say?
Okay. So I think that what they're doing with the current run of X-Men has been really cool. And I want to see more of that stuff. Because like I said, I don't know if they're going to do a full reset into the typical canon. I do hope that they go back to the Krakoa stuff and see and try and salvage things. Because I want to see splinter groups like that. That's my hope. With that said, like the Orcus threat has been a thing since they started the Krakoan experiment. So I really do hope it gets resolved here. This does tie in nicely because this ties in nicely with what's happening in like Marvel's New York in a broader scale. Because like, so when Kingpin was a mayor. He set up an anti-vigilante act. So, unless you were a sanctioned superhero by New York City, you couldn't actually legally go and do vigilantism. Which you can't anyway, but like they all turned a blind eye. But he just basically put in a law saying like, absolutely no. and then created a bunch of like Cape Hunter forces, you know? Which is a big part of essentially like Miles Morales' story right now is that he's on the run from like Cape Hunters in a way, stuff like that. But if like right now, because the majority of mutants are also in New York City, what you have is this anti-vigilante act creating Cape Hunters, as well as Orcus coming in and trying to like stomp on mutants. So I'm curious to see where this is going to go. Now, for the one more thing I have to mention. So Miss Marvel's mutant, like I said. I think that to end this off, I need to mention that her comic is back. So she has her own title again. It's only a 4-issue thing, I think, which is too bad, but it's probably going to jump off into other things. But currently she is like the New Mutant Miss Marvel, which for me, I'm like, so New Mutants is my team, and I'm like, okay, I like Miss Marvel, she's a New Mutant, okay, I'll give it a shot, but it's my team, and I know exactly who should be on this team, it's not you, Miss Marvel, I'm sorry,
yeah,
but she's also supposed to be like a one-man team, one-woman team, and like, that's fine, so the idea is Miss Marvel is out, she's going to college, to essentially stop or spy on a Orcus installation in this college and try and gather information to send back to the X-Men, the resistance group, which is fine. I like that idea. Here's the problem, though. So, Marvel being Marvel, to get everybody excited about Miss Marvel coming back, they gave her a brand new awesome costume. And it's a really good costume. It's X-Men themed and everything. It's wonderful. It's a really cool costume. But Miss Marvel was not known as a mutant at all. And they had an opportunity to send her in covertly into the school to be like, hey, perhaps you should spy on this place covertly and then get back to us. And also, don't wear that costume while you're there, because nobody knows you're a mutant, and you can kind of fake it until they check. Meanwhile, in the first issue of Miss Marvel, she saves people wearing her new X-Men costume at the campus. And they're all like, oh, Miss Marvel's a mutant? Oh, stupid. Fuck that. And then it's like, okay. Yeah, so...
To be fair, I would believe that she would still do that, even if you were like, please do this covert.
Yeah, I kind of agree too, but I think Kamala Khan is much smarter than that. She's usually pretty, but at the same time, I guess, like, the idea is the costume is making a statement of, like, even if she wasn't a mutant, she'd wear it, sort of thing. And but at the same time, again, you're there to do this covertly. It's whatever. It's a dumb Marvel move that basically has the writers trying to scramble and like make sense of this, and they kind of just hand wave it, and that's fine. But it's kind of a glaring problem to me in that comic. But again, it's still a good written issue, so it's well written. It's fun. Yeah, I mean, yeah, she's back. Good, awesome. I'm glad. That sounds sarcastic. I'm actually quite happy she's back.
If she's good, I'm happy she's back.
I'm so happy Miss Marvel's back. Oh, I just stupid Miss Marvel back being so cool and stuff. Gosh, yeah. Anyway, we should wrap it up. You're right.
Sure.
So go to our Twitter page, which is at EIFNAR. We're there with all of the things you could ever want from our podcast, like words that we speak sometimes. It's great.
I think that is mostly what people want, so yeah.
Yeah. You should also go to our iTunes, Spotify, YouTube channel, which you're probably watching this on right now. Like and subscribe and all that good stuff. And then, just share our show with your friends. If the X-Men have taught me anything, sharing is caring, as well as creating your own island nation. So, do one of the two of those. With our show.
Sharing and caring, please do not try and create your own island nation.
I mean...
that always ends in a crazed dictatorial rule.
I'm just saying, you never know until you try, so...
Always?
Always,
Yes, always.
I don't know. Sounds like maybe one more time will prove you wrong.
No, definitely not.
Go buy your own island, everybody. Anyway, you should also go to our friends at stageydating.com. That's the guy that does our music. Go there, listen to his great tunes, and make him an X-Man. That's just a thing you can do now, I guess.
Isn't Nimrod going around murdering all the X-Men?
He's fine. Just don't flaunt the powers. It's okay.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, go for it then.
Make him an X-Men. Also, if you can... Here's the thing. It's okay because, if he's from our world... So, if he goes and becomes an X-Men, he's probably got the same powers as Gwenpool, which means that he can just unmake his powers, be an X-Men thing. And therefore you're safe. I don't know what happened to Gwenpool. She's probably dead, so...
Probably. Who knows?
I hope not.
I'm sure she'll come back.
I'm sure. I hope so. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another 8th episode of Everything is Ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Hey,